I think I am officially live. So today the topic is, where did God go? A clairvoyance view. And so I'm going to jump into that a little bit more. But before I do that, I just want to say good morning to all of you from the Pacific Northwest. My name is Nancy Rebecca. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. And for all of you who've been hanging out with me for years, glad to see you again this morning. So, let's say from Texas and northern Alberta and New Zealand, I went through and read through these last week and I was just amazed. Hello from Utah. Okay. All right. So Yvonne is asking if everybody can hear me. So then that makes me assume you can't, but I hope that you can. All right. Hello from the UK and from Georgia. So here we go into this talk. I'm glad that you can hear me. So where did God go? A clairvoyance view. You might say that you're spiritual, but you're not religious, or maybe you don't think much about God at all. But when life brings you to your knees, suddenly there's that whisper, God, please help me. And what if your connection to the divine isn't something to fall back on just in hard times, but something that's been waiting for you all along to light your path along the way? And so I wanted to share with you just for a moment my own down on my knees moment. But what inspired this talk? Because there's a lot going on in the frequency forecast. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of noise outside. There's a lot of noise inside. And then something strange happened last night around, I think it was around 8 o'clock in the evening. And it felt like the energy just shifted. And it was like, I don't know. We don't know what happened. Yvonne kept saying the energy's strange. It's strange. It was like something shifted. And we had a couple of emails and texts from a couple of people. And it was just like, help, help. I need to have a conversation, or I need help clearing out a space and things like that. But it's very unusual to have so many converge at one point. And it's easy sometimes that we want to reach out to someone who's in physical form that makes sense to us, that we can have a conversation with. But this is how it all got started. I'm going to kind of share with you all a technique that I teach in my courses. I haven't ever talked about it online before. So in my different courses of the foundational course and then our psychic mastery courses and advanced courses, we have these conversations and I teach this technique. So I'm going to just give you the inside scoop as to what that means. So we had several students who, when they're doing readings, I teach them to look at the client's energy field, or feel their field, or hear it, or know it, and then kind of scan to see how solid your connection is with Earth. That's the first thing. We're going to get you plugged into Earth when you're doing a meditation, or when, I might be doing a psychic clairvoyant reading for you. Going to make sure you're well plugged in before I start the reading. But the other place I make sure you're plugged in is above. And I use the symbol as the sun to represent the God of your heart. So I'm going to talk about the top 10 positions that I see the sun in and what that means when I'm doing a clairvoyant reading. So I had several students who they had done their readings and we were kind of going over them, and they mentioned to me, I forgot to look for the sun. And then there was someone else, I forgot to look for the sun. And then another student, I completely forgot that part of the reading to look for the sun. And so I invited them to go back and look at their own relationship with the God of their heart, because often if that relationship is disconnected or kind of in the background, then you may not be able to see that connection in anybody else. And so then it came up again that it's like, I need to do this talk. It was almost like, spirits following me around all week long. Because the frequency forecast, I'm so excited, I can barely stand it. We've got Uranus that's going into Gemini in July. And this is like, I feel like in Taurus, I was trying to listen to Pam Gregory's talk. I've tried to listen to it 3 times, her most recent talk about Uranus and Gemini. I had to keep going back over and over and over again. But it's like in Taurus, it's like pulling back the slingshot. And then on July 7th or 8th, it's just like, pew, it's just like we are going to take off. And this time that we've been in, we've all been preparing, whether you're conscious of it or not. We've been getting everything organized. So when that escalator starts moving faster, we're ready for it. And today's talk has a lot to do with your preparation. All right. So my down on my knees moment happened it was in 1994. And I think you've all heard the story, but if you're brand new to the story, I'm going to just put it in a nutshell. I was a hospice nurse. 3 of my own family members were dying at the same time. I was a pressure cooker ready to explode. I just didn't want to see my family dying. I was distraught. I'm taking care of 2 preteens. I have a husband who's a police officer. I'm a nurse, so we're all really other oriented. It was my husband's sister who was my best friend that was dying. And I need a minute. I just need a minute. And so I went into my bedroom and I closed it and I locked the door to just have that private moment. But also I didn't want anybody I didn't know what I was doing. And so I just pretended, I'm like, I think I need to pray, but I don't know how to pray. And so then I thought, okay, how do they pray in the movies? So anyway, I went through this, got down on my knees and basically said, God, why do people have to die? And then the tears came. All right. So that's my story that led to me sitting in front of you now, because what happened was 2 days later, I had a spontaneous out-of-body experience. My spirit's illuminated next to my body, and I hear a voice say, you don't die. You just shed your body. And then a couple of days later, that voice that I know as God came through and said, oh, and by the way, I need you to go out to the world to help people that remember that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So when I say that moment, that down on my knees moment got me here today. But if I'm smart, if anybody's smart, you're going to avoid these topics about talking to God, right? Because it's such a private, very, very private, very intimate thing to ask. So for those of you who have those a solid relationship with the God of your heart, or you can call source, your higher power, or the great creator, Mother Nature, the goddess, fantastic. But on my side of the fence, I get, where did God go? Why did God abandon me? Why did God let this happen? I get those questions. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. All right? Because we need these moments coming up, because they're going to go super fast. Okay, so today's question may sound simple, but it holds worlds within it. So where did God go? Or maybe is God an afterthought in your life? So as a clairvoyant intuitive, I've done over 30,000 readings of the human energy field. I've come to realize that your relationship with the divine shows up clearly in your energy field, in everyone's energy field. Okay. Especially in how you're connected to the earth and the sun, just like I talked about. And in my work, the sun represents the God of your heart. And I've talked about that. Or who or whatever you desire it to be. So it could be Jesus, it could be Allah, Buddha, Source, Great Spirit, the infinite mystery. So I've already talked about when I teach students energy readings, we begin with that sacred foundation of helping put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, connect to the earth, connect to the sun. I'm going to do a really great meditation at the end so that you can do just that. And then for those who are training to support other people through psychic readings, they will help their client ground and connect to the sun. So it's one of the most vital connections that you can make, especially during this rapidly accelerating time of shifts, not just for your intuitive work, but for your daily life. And you're not alone. You've never been alone. Never, ever, ever have you been alone. You just might feel that way. So we are all part of a larger consciousness. And when we tap into it, we remember that we belong. We remember we are worthy. We remember we are light. Okay. So this was before 1994. And I remember feeling perplexed by this story. So my husband at the time, he had a friend. So my husband is a retired police officer, but so he had a friend. The friend called and said, I really need to talk to you. So they meet. And this is my husband at the time relaying the conversation to me. His dear friend had been a friend for a long, long time, says, I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble. And he said, okay. And he goes, I don't know what to do. And so he said, okay. And he goes, I've become really addicted to cocaine. And so my husband said, after they had a few conversations, and my husband said, he goes, I don't know what to do. What should I do? I don't even know where to begin. And these days we have a lot of rehabs, but then people didn't even talk about that. And they most certainly didn't talk about addiction. But my husband said to him, have you thought about praying? And his friend said, I have thought about praying, but I don't know how. Nobody ever taught me. And I remember how that really struck me because I didn't really know how to pray either. And so I asked my husband, I'm like, what did you tell him? He goes, I didn't know what to say. He said, maybe you should go to church, and can you imagine for any of those of you who've suffered addiction, can you imagine you want to get better, but you don't even know how to ask for help, and you don't want to feel judged, and you want to pray, but you don't know how to pray. So these are the things that we can start to put into place and take the complexity out of it. And this isn't to talk about prayer. That can be a whole other talk, but this is simplicity. So, yeah, I love that. Sherry's Kitchen said, it's just like talking to your best friend. And it is, Sherry. You've grown into that simplicity, but there's a lot of people out there just like me who locked the door and got on my knees. I didn't know what I was doing, or just like, being addicted, raised Catholic, thinking that they needed to say prayers in a certain way for God to be able to hear them. All right. So let me share what I've seen. And in some, the sun is bright and high in the sky, indicating a steady devotional relationship. And others, I may look for the sun, but I see a veiled sense of clouds, pain, betrayal, past life wounds. Sometimes people have placed God far away into the future, like, well, when we get into the new golden ages, that's where I'll find God, or God's way in the past, because you have an old image of God from maybe childhood upbringing of going to church, and you need to bring it current. or others I will see with the sun in the chest, knowing they are inseparable from the divine. So, I want to share a story of a client who felt, oh gosh, I'm just like, can you guys feel it? It's like I can just feel the divine coming in, thanking me for this conversation. So I had a client come in. I had never met her before. She was a brand new client. And she sits down in front of me. And you can tell she has a wig on. So I know either she has alopecia, so she has no hair, or she's going through chemotherapy of some sort. So she sits down and we go through the reading, and I ask her if she has any questions. And she divulged to me, what did I write? She divulged to me her participation in unthinkable things. And she shared with me what those unthinkable things were. And so I don't need to get into all of that. And she wanted to know if I could help her get right with God before she died, because she did have cancer. She only had about 3 months left to live, and she was terrified to die because she had done these unthinkable things in her life. And so when I looked at her energy field, because I'm a clairvoyant, I could see as bright as the sun, just about 50 feet above her head. I mean, it was like this ball of light was dropping down, but it couldn't come any further into her energy field. So I began to kind of unravel what was this big block of energy from the top of her head to 50 feet higher, where that God light, I'm going to call it, was. It was her, I'm unworthy. It was her shame. It was her guilt. It was her feeling like she should die a horrible death because that's the only thing that she deserved. And then I realized for the first time that the God of your heart is always available to you, always available, always willing to reach out. I learned that. And so as I talked to her about these energies, we unraveled them. I helped her to clear them while she was talking out, the shame she felt or the guilt she felt. And next thing you know, she was able to release it, and the sunbeam, like a big, broad light, touched the top of her head. Her tears just started flowing. Her whole body was filled with light. Okay. So I share that story because if I were to imagine the story and imagine what God would do, it would not have been that. Okay. Okay. Let me keep going. So I also want all these stories. Okay. I'm going to share this other story about with my grandson. So now my grandson's going to be, he's 24 this year. And so we were talking about this story because he was probably about 6 or 7 years old. And we lived in this little, contained community. It was very safe for him. And there were kids. And he, even though he's little, I knew the neighbors that he was going to go play with that were like 10 houses down. And they would call and say, okay, he's heading back your way. So he heads back. And he calls me Nana. Nana, there's this man hiding in the bushes. So, of course, I'm thinking, this is such a safe place to live. What man's around the children? And so I said, okay, show me where he is. And so my grandson, just runs along, and then he takes me up to the place where the man is in the bushes. Well, guess what? The man wasn't in human form. The man was a spirit. So I had to turn to my grandson and say, you can see him? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, well, he's in the bushes and he's hiding and he doesn't know what to do. And I'm like, Okay, so I telepathically said to the man, "Are you okay?" And he was earthbound. All right, so to go into the whole story, when a spirit is earthbound, I have found I must enter into a conversation and negotiations. So he wasn't going to come out from behind the bushes, but he was terrified. He was stuck on the earthly plane. He was terrified. He didn't know how to get out of the mess that he was in. And so I asked him, I said, I can help you to cross over. Nope, I'm not worthy. And so we entered a conversation. He didn't think he was worthy, that he wasn't worthy to go to heaven. I mean, the pearly gates of heaven could have opened up for him, and he wasn't going to go through them because he didn't think he was worthy. All right, so here's the end of the story. The end of the story is, I said, can I call in and see if Jesus can come talk to you? And he was like, no, I don't want to see Jesus. I'm too ashamed. I'm not ready to see Jesus. And so then I negotiated some more. And so he finally called in Jesus himself. Now, Jesus is like now 50 feet away. And it was like Jesus sat on a rock and this man's hiding behind the bushes. I can see this clairvoyantly. And, Jesus is just going to work his magic. And when I left, they were still talking. When I went back the next day, the man was gone. And so why do I share this story? Because it doesn't matter. You get to have a relationship with the God of your heart. Okay. Because his pain can remind us, that man's pain can remind us how we can become convinced that we are unworthy no matter what or how far we've gone in our life. And there's always this force reaching towards us. That's what I want to say. And you don't have to be perfect, just willing. We're going to do a meditation around that. So let me talk about the 10 energetic patterns that I see. And I know my students are going to love this because I haven't even talked to them about the 10 energetic patterns. Why? Because I want them to learn by having those conversations with God themselves and their higher spirit to get their own answers. Okay. The number one, if the sun is directly above your head. So I will look at you and I will see where the sun is, and it tells me something about you. Okay? The sun directly above the head means it's consistent with spiritual devotion, a steady, alive relationship with the divine. The sun and the crown chakra deeply fuse together. That will tell me, and the sun's in the sky, but there's this big golden beam connecting to your crown chakra. This tells me, I would say, oh, wow, you have a really strong relationship with God. And that you have a very intimate relationship where God's really in your life, and they will always confess that they talk to God every day. When they're washing the dishes, they're driving the car, they're having these conversations with God, and they have a prayerful lifestyle, which does not mean you have to get on your knees, in that kind of prayerful way of wanting to have a communication. Okay. If the moon is in the sky and it replaces the sun, what this always tells me about, when I share it with the clients, they always say that's absolutely true. When the moon replaces the sun, devotion to the earth, that means your devotion is to the earth. Nature is divine. It's often a feminine connection, like goddess aligned spirituality. All right. And so if you come in and I'm going to go look for the sun, but that moon is full and bright right there, I'm like, whoa, you've got a big connection with nature, and that you go into nature to pray, or you go into nature, connect with spirit. They're like, I love nature. So every time it's always nature. Okay. How about if I look up and I see the sun and the moon? Okay. So above you, I see the sun and the moon. That means the supreme wisdom, the God of your heart or the goddess of your heart, transcends gender. Okay. Means that your relationship with the divine is balanced between masculine and feminine. That it's like God can have those that sense of it's just male oriented or the goddess is just female oriented. Those of you, if I see the sun and the moon, it's like, wow, you have a really of the creator, the supreme wisdom is non-gender. Okay. How about if the sun is in the chest? So sometimes I will see that the sun is here in the chest. I will look for it up above, but I will see the sun in the chest. This means God lives within you. A knowing of inseparability with source. And I will tell you, there's a couple of different religions where that is taught. And often when I'll say, you are one, God lives within you, they will name those religions. And it's usually very consistently that one. So yes, God can live within you. And many of you have that belief. The sun sometimes will be literally sitting on the head and pressing down on the head, too hard on the crown. Usually I'll say, oh, wow, you've got some big stuff going on in your life and you are praying to God. And if you could swallow God's wisdom in through your head, you would. But it's like the God light is so close that you can struggle to see and determine and navigate the problems in your life. So sometimes you may be praying too hard, too long. Does that make sense? Where you need to kind of take breaks and get the human perspectives as well. And so what I do in those situations is I really help the client to ground. And then we just say, all right, let go of the sun, let it float back up in the sky above you. And then I'll ask them, how do you feel? And they'll say, oh, I feel so relieved, because the God light is so powerful that there just isn't a human that can touch it, but we can get that streaming light. Okay. Sun far left or far right. So if I'm looking at you and I see the sun is far to the left or far to the right, what that tells me is that you may have a parental influence that has shaped your current beliefs as spirit. So maybe your father was, quite dogmatic, in the religious structure. Maybe your mother was kind of spiritually oriented on the side and in that way like to look at past lives and do tarot card readings. And so what it means is that you may be aligned with one of your parental, influences, and you haven't shaped your own yet. So that's how I will see it. If the sun is in the past, so either it can mean that you used to be devout, and I've met a lot of you who have felt kind of betrayed either by your church or betrayed by God, or that the sun is going to be way in the past, and you have had that past relationship, I'm going to say way back there, you haven't brought it current. Because and people, I hear this a lot. It's like, I had to leave the church. I had to leave the church. It just was too confining. It didn't fit. The words weren't right. And then, we call throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So what I'm trying to tell you today is you get to create your own relationship. What I've witnessed in over 30,000 readings is that the God of your heart, it doesn't matter. You get to create your own intimate relationship. All right. And so, and then if the sun is in the future, someday I'll connect that God is a distant idea, not in the present now. how many of you, as we're going through this great big shift, do you think I'll be able to have stronger spiritual relationships when we are fully in the golden ages? Okay. And so you're going to wait. And it's like, no, you don't have to wait. You can have it right now. All right. So here we go. Black clouds that obscure the sun. So when I will see it, it's almost like I see churning black, gray, just kind of churning, bubble, toil and trouble. That's way up high. And I know the sun is there, just like if it's a cloudy day, which it is here in the Pacific Northwest, I know that the sun is there, even if it's cloudy. But when I see someone has a lot of black clouds, they can be skeptics, they can be atheist. So skeptical that God exists, atheist, God doesn't exist, and they will confess this to me. I don't know this. I don't name it. I don't read it. I'll say, wow, the sun is so obscured in your life. And then, would you like me to clear it? And they will say, well, I'm either atheist or I don't believe in that. I'm like, okay, you don't have to believe in it, but would you like me to clear the clouds off the sun? And then they'll say, sure, that's fine. And then guess what? They have a huge, what I call a God experience. Because then the light, when light starts filling the body, it's like game over. You just can feel that connection. But also, if you've been hurt or harmed by someone who was religious or power, and it's not necessarily in the church, it's just that it might have that edge to it, right? Or soul memories where maybe you harmed others in God's name, in a past life. That could be true as well. And there might be some old past life stuff that needs to be cleared off. But guess what? The sun always shines. It always shines. And so once you kind of get that cleared off and clear off your connections, it's always there. And that's a form of prayer, of cleaning off those connections. And you can have spiritual trauma that blocks your ability to receive. So those are the top 10 energetic patterns of divine connection in the energy field from my view that can see energy fields. Now, I was really curious about cultures, because there's a lot of cultures that prayer is built into their daily life. It is a part of their culture. Prayer is built into our daily life. Here in our Western culture, if I know there's a lot of you out there that pray on a regular basis and you just have that comfortable relationship, but I also know there are others, like my husband's friend, who nobody taught him how to pray. Okay. So I looked it up. I wanted to know which cultures do this. So Islam does 5 daily prayers spaced throughout the day from the morning until night. It's built into their culture. Hinduism also does multiple daily rituals, mantras, chanting, and offerings. Varies by their lineage. So whatever lineage they are, they will have different practices, but is still built in from the moment they were born. Christianity, many in Christianity will do early morning prayers and prayers before they go to bed at night. Include structured prayer times. So some are structured, some are free flow. My prayerfuls are free flowing, where I start off with gratitude for my life first, and then I'll go, yeah, I got some real problems. Thank you. Okay, can you hear my problems? Okay. And then you have, in Buddhism, their daily meditations can vary from 3 times a day to once a day. And Sikhism, 3 to 5 prayers a day. In the indigenous traditions, the offerings to the ancestors and spirit is often done at sunrise or sunset, and the prayer can come through song, dance, and ritual. And I love this. In Taoism, emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, which practices daily meditation, breathing, and Qigong. And so there's that sense that you are a walking prayer, right? You're a walking prayer. And I've had that sometimes when I have those conversations with the God of my heart. And I'll say, well, I've kind of been slacking on the meditation this week. Now, my form of slacking is 30 minutes because sometimes I can definitely meditate a couple hours a day. And that voice that I know is God came back and said, you are a walking prayer, Nancy. You're always talking to the divine. So quit thinking you need to do more. So I will be excited to read your comments. So we're going to do a guided meditation. And in that guided meditation, you're going to get a sense about where the divine is in your energetic system, where the sun is. Let's just say the sun. Let's just keep it neutral. Where the sun is. You don't have to name the sun at all, or you can name the sun whatever you wish to refer to as the God of your heart. So in this guided meditation, it's about reconnecting, realigning with the divine presence. And go ahead and close your eyes and turn towards that deep inner stillness that exists inside of you beyond the noise. And if you can, uncross your arms, uncross your legs. If you're sitting, just gently feel the bottom of your feet. And just notice your breath in and out as you allow your entire body to relax, your shoulders to relax, your breath becoming slower, fuller, deeper. Now imagine beautiful roots going from the lower part of your body, from each foot. It can be a root system made of gold. It can be a root system made of crystals. It can be a root system made of water or trees or mountains. The quality of the roots is completely up to you, how you wish and you desire, and you are devoted to being in union with Mother Earth. So let's make that connection first and allow those roots to grow out of the bottom of each foot and out of the lower part of your body, all the way to the center of the earth, and anchor yourself there. These roots carry your consciousness into the heart of the earth, carrying consciousness and sharing it with the consciousness of earth deep in the soil and the stones. The underground waters. And crystals. Allow the roots to go deeper and deeper until you can feel anchored and safe and fully supported by the great earth beneath you. She is alive. She's filled with divine wisdom. She carries supreme knowledge. She knows your name. Allow yourself to lean into her. Now turn your awareness and imagine in the sky, above you, way up in the sky, is a radiant golden sun. This is hovering above your head. This can be your connection with Source, solar source. It can be your connection with what you might call the God of your heart, the great creator of everything, goddess. Whatever term helps settle you inside. It may be a beloved face, or it may simply be a pure light. Or maybe it's just a warmth that you sense. Let the sun shine down upon you. As the golden light streams in, notice where it lands in your energy field. Your crown, top of your head, your spiritual chakra, your heart, your hands. Let this golden streaming light fill your entire energy field with warmth, truth, and divine remembrance that you are not separate. You were never separate. Now invite the sun, this presence of solar source or the divine, to show you where it lives nearby around your energy field. So see if you can get a sense. Is it directly above you? Is it hiding behind clouds? Is it ahead of you, on the horizon? Is it behind you? Notice what you notice, sense what you sense. No judgment, just pure curiosity. There's no need to fix or change anything. Just notice, allowing your awareness to come with kindness. You may say to yourself on the inside, or you may say it out loud, I am aligned with the God of my heart, Source, the Creator, Supreme Wisdom, in all the ways that is right for me. Feel how the light begins to move, not as a force, but from your gentle willingness to allow it in. Allow this light, clear light, to help heal and illuminate those places that may be hidden within you. Allow this light to gently touch old wounds, old pain, forgotten grief without needing to even understand it. Just allow the light in. To serve you. As the sun shifts and moves, increase the strength of your grounding to receive a greater warmth from the God of your heart. You might place your hands on your heart. You may place your hands palm to palm in a prayerful pose, or you may reach up towards the sky, stretching your arms above as you align with the symbolic sun. Sense if there is a message for you today, knowing that you can get those messages every day. Is there a message for you today? And if this feels right for you, set your intention that as you move throughout your day or your evening, or maybe it's time for you to go to bed, that you're going to set your intention to maintain your connection to the earth and to the sun or even the moon above. And then when you're ready, just take a few breaths to bring yourself back to this present moment. Moving your fingers, your toes, feeling your body supported. Beneath you, stretch. Beautiful. And so, as you're all kind of coming back, and I will love to read your comments later, why is this coming up right now? And it's And I've asked that question, why? And I've been getting for the last year that for this next part of our journey, we want to be connected to our guides, our angels, Jesus, Mary, Buddha, the God of our heart, to have those connections to the earth and have those connections to the sun, so that you are not depleted, that you're not just drawing from your own energy. You are tapped into sources, a never ending source, an unending supply of energy. Like your cell phone's not going to charge if it's not plugged into the wall. So try to stay connected to those. The other thing is that I've been told that we're creating this light body over the next 3 years. And I thought that we would have this kind of, maybe a set of instructions might come with that manual. And so far it hasn't. However, the blue light has started to come in. It's coming through the sacral chakra, the crown chakra, the fingers, the toes. So I'm going to be talking about that and other videos over the next few weeks and giving you some tips on that. But being plugged in, being tapped in, is going to support you as you become a body of light, or your physical body can illuminate just how awesome you are. So remember, we're always stronger together than we have ever been apart. And I would love to hear your comments and your own relationships, or maybe your own stories. Because so many of you read the comments, and I have some of you written it, said, I get so much out of the comments. And so we're working together. We're a team. We're going to support this movement. So again, thank you all very much for being here today and sharing the light with me. And I'll see you again. And for those in the United States, Canada just had their Canada Day, July 1st. Happy 4th of July to you all. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.